But I mean, you were in my corner the entire time through the rehab process, then going into the draft. And then, our relationship kind of changed because I reached out to you one day and I was like,
welcome to this week's special episode of The Burn. Grateful and appreciative to each and every single one of you that tune in every single week for our opportunity to be great together. To connect to that burn that ignites why and purpose that causes us to be disciplined in our action. Today we bring you a special episode, a relationship that I am so thankful for with Michael Porter Jr. NBA season is here. I've had the opportunity to work with athletes in every major sport, Olympians, championships won. And on this journey, you meet amazing individuals who put in the work, who believe, and the relationships make you better. Michael Porter Jr. is an example of that. My guy, Michael Porter Jr., we go all the way back to freshman year at Mizzou. So many unbelievable memories that we will cover from our relationship. But I do want to mention one thing to kick things off. I'm just so proud of you. To be here in San Diego, you're kicking off training camp. This is year 4. There's amazing things that have happened. But for all the listeners, and this is where I really want to start with you, you often, and we talk about this, how what you do every day manufactures the results that you get. So you've decided to be consistent because there's a fire that lies inside of you. Where does that fire come from that has driven this consistency for you to achieve what you've achieved with this great game and what you do in life?
I mean, for me, it started at an early age. When I first started playing basketball at 3 years old was when I picked up a ball. And then I found a love for it, but I also realized, okay, God gave me a certain talent. So, it says it in the Bible, and I believe it. Whatever you're going to do, work as hard as you can at it. So it could have been anything that I dipped into, I was going to go all the way in. Basketball, whatever. I never wanted to be average. People that just are okay with being average, I kind of find a problem with that because it's strange to me. Why would you not go try to be the best? So whether that was school, a board game, whatever, I was just competitive. And, for me, it's been a long journey. But then you have your whys, too. Why do you do what you do? And mine is, like I said, trying to maximize my potential, what God's given me. And then the other one is, my family. Seeing the sacrifices they did for me. I never missed a game because my mom would bring me there. Even when we didn't have money, she was going to find a way to get us to the game. Things like that, they make you want to give back to them. So now to be able to bless them, you're here with me right now on the day that I just did my deal with Denver, my extension, and to just be able to think of all that work, all those late nights, early mornings, to be able to sign this contract and now take care of my family for the rest of my life. Things like that is what get me up in the morning. And it's just crazy when you see your stuff start to pay off.
Well, you're an amazing example for your siblings in terms of how you show up. And that burn is definitely lit in you. I'm going to get a little emotional thinking about this. And I hadn't thought about this in preparation, but it just hit me when you mentioned God. I remember when you were going through your challenge and adversity, and I sent you a Bible verse that I've said to myself every single day since February of 2008 when I texted you James 1:12. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he stood the test to receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. And I remember an interview that you did, and you shared that Bible verse. And to be sitting here today on this day when you signed this contract, knowing that you stayed faithful, you continued to show up every day, it makes me emotional because you can say things or share things, but sometimes they don't stick. But I think that's what's special about you is you take things in, you process them because you're a very smart guy. That's why you have your show, Curious Mike. And so you process these things, but then you choose to take action. I think that makes you special.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. Coming through all that adversity. Do you have any stories from kind of when we met, or any stories during our time at Mizzou of me that you would remember? Because you were always around, but I didn't always. You saw everything. Do you have any stories?
Oh yeah. So the first one is, I was a hooper back in the day, as you know. Yeah. However, I could shoot a little bit. I was slow. I couldn't jump. So I had a couple D3 opportunities, but ended up going to Michigan State to watch them win a title.
Okay.
But at being a shooter, I was always impressed with shooters. So one of the first things was, I thought when I came to the first practice, my first day, you were at the top of the key and you hit 19 straight three-pointers. Mm-hmm. And what went through my mind, it wasn't necessarily the 19, it was the number of shots that this young man must have taken in order to put yourself in position to hit 19 straight three-pointers.
Right.
And so I always look at work ethic, like what allows somebody to achieve what they achieve. Mm-hmm. And so number one was the work ethic. And then the second story, which is, painful, but, the pain is what leads us to our growth, was I remember the first game.
Yeah.
I remember Iowa State, right? I mean, everybody's excited, everybody's energized. And I remember you came up to me in the locker room and you're like, bro, I don't know if I can go.
Yeah.
And I mean, the emotion was in your face. Your back was killing you. Mm-hmm. And I just admired the fact that you put it on the line for the team that night. You made it about the team.
Yeah.
And you attempted to go out there knowing the pain that you were in. And we know what happened afterwards. But then to come back and to battle to, when we were playing Tennessee in the NCAA tournament that year. Right? I think about that, and it's one of those things, like you got heart, you got guts, you got fight in you. Yeah. That's why you're achieving what you're achieving. But those are the things that I remember. It's the hard work, but then it's the mindset that you have.
That's crazy, because I remember that vividly too. That game. And I remember coming up to you because I was like, he's such a good speaker. What if he could just speak it into me? Like, what if he could say something to make the pain go away? Because I knew like you had that. So yeah, I remember that. But nah, bro, it was just too much. Like the few days leading up to that game, it was just getting worse and worse. So by that time, it was impossible to play. But you were in my corner the entire time through the rehab process, then going into the draft. And then, our relationship kind of changed because I reached out to you one day and I was like, man, I'm going through this. I forget what it was, but I was like, could you just send me messages daily? This was, years ago, bro. I was like, can you send me messages to encourage me daily? And ever since then, every single morning, I wake up to a text from you. I don't think you've missed one morning, saying something motivational, something for the day. And that's unbelievable because I mentioned it one time, and I know a lot of people, they will, like you talk about it all the time, they'll talk the talk or they'll say, yeah, I'll do this for you, whatever, but then they never follow through, or they might for like a week. It's been every single day. Like, how did you get that consistency about you, or just that routine? Like those texts are coming in at 2 or 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you?
My favorite texts are the ones where you say things to me like, bro, what time did you go to bed last night? Bro, what time did you wake up today?
It's unbelievable.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm driven by embracing your everyday opportunity. Yeah. And you know my story. I shared it with you guys the first time that I spoke at Mizzou when Konzo brought me in, which was such a blessing being able to, work with you guys that year. And my mom passed away 11 days before my 8th birthday. My parents were divorced when I was 6 months old. So all I've ever known is challenge and adversity. I'm a 42-year-old man. My mother passed away at 38 from a rare muscle disease there's still no cure for. So every day past 38 has been a gift that God has given me.
Yeah.
So if I have a blessing of having a relationship with somebody like you, and you ask me to help you with something, I'm going to be there to help you. And that's all I know. And I think the world, unfortunately, there are too many people, as you just referenced, they like to talk, but the action tells the real story.
Right.
And so our real relationship comes from, can you call me in a bind and I'm going to be there for you?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, I'll call you in a few days. I'm busy. No, I'm going to be there for you because that's the relationship that we have. And I think that's what life is all about. And I think there's too many people who talk rather than driving action and building relationships because that's what life's about.
No doubt. And you do a great job of helping us. Those Mizzou days, me now, I know you talk to a lot of teams still, but like you personally as your own individual, how did you get to the point where you were making these life habits of, like I remember not too long ago, there was a fight. I think it ended at like 12 a.m. I still get my text from you at 3 a.m. Like, I'm like, bro, did you sleep? I just saw you on TV at the fight. Like, how did you get that in you where you were just
Now, that one in full disclosure, I'm going to tell the people, I sent the text before I went to bed that night.
Oh, you did? You did?
Because I was still up. It was Easter time. And I'm like, I was thinking to myself, am I going to wake up in an hour and send my messages, and I'm like, no, I'm sending them before.
That makes
before
sense.
So that was one night where I had to do that because I do have to get some sleep.
Right.
But a lot of the discipline is it's wanting to maximize every single day, right? So for you, you have a choice, right? You have earned everything that you've had. You fought through all the adversity because you made a choice. Here's how I'm going to work. And oftentimes it's not the work that the Nuggets ask you to do. It's the unrequired work. It's the extra work. You know, my guy Messer, I remember speaking to his team at SIUE when he played back in the day years ago. They would bring me in to speak. And, you know, it's the work that you guys put in the gym. That's what gets it done. And so for me, it's the little things that I've been blessed to have coaches and mentors in my life who have helped me understand. If you do the little things every day and you keep stacking those habits every day, day after day after day, from my nutrition to my health to how I show up for my family and my kids to how I work, if we just take it one day at a time and choose to win one day at a time, you will have success.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, they get so caught up in, I want the result. Give me the result right now.
The long-term goal.
Give it to me right now.
Yeah.
As opposed to, are you willing to do what it takes every day in order to achieve that result?
Right.
And most people, they don't have that consistency.
Right.
And I believe one more thing, we have to be the example. Right? We have to be the example.
You can't talk about it if you're not doing it.
I mean, there would be a different level of respect, or maybe we wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't show up in my life and have discipline.
Right.
Because how could you and I have a conversation about discipline if I was completely undisciplined? There would just be a different level of respect. And so I feel like you have to be an example of showing up and doing the things. How could I have a conversation with you about discipline if I'm undisciplined?
Exactly. So, man, I know a lot of people, like, they want to make these life habits, these new changes. But then, you know, like everyone, we're humans. So
have you thought about writing a book, but just don't have the time? We would love to help you make that dream come true this year. Introducing B&C Publishing. We offer an in-house 3-step process to help you bring your book to life. The whole process only takes 60 to 90 days. Compared to 18 months for traditional publishing methods, we work fast. To see if we are a good fit to work together on your project, email our team at info@bennewman.net. That's info@bennewman.net. Now, back to the show.
I don't know if you ever have off days, but like when people have a bad day or they feel like they lost the day, how do you, when you're so driven by a standard and you know, like you're putting these streaks together, whatever it is, and you have a bad day, how do you kind of like bounce back from that guilt and not let one bad day turn into, oh, I'm gonna just give it all up? You know, because a lot of people do that. They make these New Year's resolutions. They might do good for like a week, and then they fall off for a day, and now it's kind of hard to get back on the right path. What do you say to people like that?
For me, it's about the shifting of perspective, right? As tough as it is on the ears, I go back to my mother coming to the dining room table with an IV stand while we had 24-hour nursing care in our house, her last year living, to ask my older brother Drew and I how our days were at school. So if my mother was able to do that, what's really a bad day for me?
Right.
So I just shift the perspective. I call that the power to reframe, right? It's our ability to focus on the solution rather than the problem.
Right.
And I think that's the opportunity. It doesn't mean I don't have bad days. I still have 2 coaches. I read books every day. I have mentors. So I'm high maintenance, right? I mean, I have issues. I have problems. I have struggles, but I have people there to help me. So number one, I think it's acknowledging it's okay to have challenge and adversity. I have it all the time. But I have those confidants and individuals that I reach out to who help me get through it. I think anytime we try to manage it alone, that's where we get in trouble.
No doubt.
That's why I admire, you know, when you'll pick up the phone and call me, hey, let's talk through something. Right? If you try to do it by yourself, you take it onto the court. So my goal in a conversation like that is I want to provide peace of mind for you. Let's leave it off the court so you can step onto the court, have intentional focus, lock in, and play your game.
I think like you said, the ability to reframe is so much more easier said than done, but it really is a choice. Like I think a lot of people, especially in today's age, I don't know if it's social media or what it is, but they have a hard time with anxiety, like choosing their thoughts. Is that kind of like a muscle? Like you have to just do it over and over and then you get better at kind of choosing to think positive? Or is it just getting off your phone? I think this is it for me, kind of getting off my phone, going in a quiet space and just sitting and then kind of changing perspectives. Because it's hard, like you say it all the time, eliminate distractions. Is that the only way you can really do it, you think?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. You've identified I have to put my phone away if I'm actually going to free my mind.
Right.
So most people know, you should probably put your phone away.
Yeah.
But then what do most people do? They don't put their phone away. So you've identified, okay, here's the shift I have to make in my environment if I'm actually going to clear my mind. And I think that's common for anyone. We all know what we need to do. But do we actually choose to do the things we know we need to do to have a clear mind to perform, or to give ourselves that peace, or to be able to push away?
Isn't that funny though? Like we always say, like, for a lot of people that struggle with social media use or whatever, when I get off social media, I feel the best I've ever felt. But then, like, we always kind of end up going back to some of the destructive things in our life. I don't know where that comes from. Like, I know there's a quote that says, a lot of times we are more afraid of our true light and potential than we are of our darkness. We feel more comfortable kind of in our old bad habits and the things we used to do, which is kind of a crazy thought, you know what I mean? That some people are so, like, it's actually hard for them to evolve and become their better self because it's just uncomfortable. And you talk about that.
People don't like being uncomfortable.
Right.
It's easier to be comfortable. It's easier to just live in comfort. It's hard to be uncomfortable. It's hard to do something repeatedly over and over and over again, right? There's a point when you train, right? You're going to reach a wall, and people's greatest growth comes when you push through that wall. And then when that uncomfortable becomes comfortable, then it's the choice, can I get to uncomfortable again? And that's where greatness really comes through. It's when it's that constant pursuit of being uncomfortable, when most people just want to stay comfortable, or they reach a point of being content. And so I know these types of conversations, it's hard for people sometimes. They're like, oh my goodness, like, this is kind of freaking me out a little bit, you know. But we all have it in us in order to get to that place, but you have to choose to go there. And once you test yourself, you realize what you have. You realize you perform at a higher level. More confidence comes. That confidence shows up in all areas of your life, and it just feels good. If you're not doing what you know you need to do to feel good, that doesn't feel good.
Exactly.
But people seek that sometimes.
Yeah, so you said on the way here, you woke up at 1 o'clock to get your workout in because you knew you're going to perform your best. You got to get your workout in when you went to go speak in Orlando. So I think you brought that up one time about being uncomfortable, and I actually took that and I tried to, like, apply it to my, like, I hate cold tubs. So I was like, you sent me a text one time and you were like, uncomfortability, or whatever the word is, speeds up the process of mental toughness. And so I took that and I was like, I'm gonna try to make myself as uncomfortable as I can be in my workouts or my, recovery, whatever it is. And it really is true. Like, when you push yourself, and even in the weight room, if you throw on to where you can barely lift it, when it's uncomfortable, that's how you really get stronger. You know what I'm saying? So that's a fact.
When you that's another moment. I remember when you were coming back from your rehab. I remember when I would come for lifts, and Nick is pushing everybody, as he always does, keeping everybody uncomfortable. And I remember you had the iPad tracking everybody, but you were still getting a little bit in. And I knew there was something special about your ability to stay uncomfortable when you'd grab some weights. And even though you probably weren't supposed to be doing it, you're like, I'm going to push a little bit. I'm going to push a little bit. See, that's a choice. It was a choice for you to push yourself there. It was a choice for you to get inside the cold tub. What a lot of people don't realize is those little decisions and choices. My mother taught me the greatest life lesson I've ever learned before she passed away. It's not how long you live, it's how you choose to live your life. And most people don't realize when you choose to get in the cold tub, you're manufacturing a 35-point game. Right? When you eat right, and I know how important nutrition is to you because I used to make smoothies for you in the weight room too, right? I know the nutrition, that's one of those, you're manufacturing by eating right a 32-point game, a 17 rebound night, a new contract that you sign, right? So all those little things manufactured, but most people aren't willing to consistently show up and do those things.
It's gotten to the point, like you said, I don't feel comfortable now unless I'm uncomfortable. And you're probably the same way. Like, unless you see the growth every day, you're not going to feel like yourself. You have a good saying. You text it to me every Friday. Champions create distance on Fridays. Where does that come from?
So that came from, all my work actually started corporately. So my speaking, I've been doing this for 15 years. So everything was corporate from 2006 until 2011, until my old high school basketball coach in 2011 called me. His name was Todd Basler. And he said, Benny boy, he still calls me Benny boy to this day, Benny boy, these guys are underperforming. I go, come and talk to them. Will you come talk to these guys for me? And they were playing Parkway Central. Central was ranked 10th. Ladue was unranked. And I came and I fired these guys up, and they knock off Parkway Central, and I'm hooked. That's when all my work in sports started.
Gotcha.
So then it became the sports analogies and business kind of blending it together. And then it just hit me. I think I've been saying it for 8 or 9 years now. It's every Friday. Champions create distance on Fridays. Because most people, what do, right? If we're talking about an 8 to 5, they show up. I can't wait to clock out. They're already thinking about the weekend. And then they get to Saturday, and they're so disappointed in themselves that they didn't work on Friday, which then creates stress for Monday. Yet the highest performers say, if today's a work day, I'm going to attack that work day. I'm going to create distance from the people. Maybe that's creating a promotion. It's a manufacturing, right? It's manufacturing their next opportunity. And so champions tend to do the little bit extra when other individuals stay content and they hold back from doing what's needed.
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy because people take those days off, those Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
And then they're stressed out come Monday.
You come stressed out. Or even in basketball, like I've noticed this. If I take 2 days off on the weekend, you come back and you lost a little bit of the ground you gained. You know, so even if you go in for a little bit, touch shots, feel the ball, you're going to retain some of the stuff you worked on through the week. But if you just take the whole weekend off, at least for me, like I don't come back the same come Monday. And then it takes Tuesday and Wednesday. By Wednesday, I'll feel back normal. And then, you know what I mean? So if you're just consistent every day, like that's the way to do it. For this conversation, all I had to do was go through our text, and I got like stuff I wanted to ask you about. So another one you talk about is no undue pressure. And you text me this before games. You'll say eliminate distractions and no undue pressure. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you step onto the court, the last thing I want you thinking about is I have to have a 35-point night. I have to hit 6 3-pointers tonight. That's thinking about the result that you cannot control. If you do your preparation, which we know how hard you work off the court, in those unseen hours, as our guy Drew Hinton likes to say, right? In those unseen hours, then you're prepared for the game. So why should there be pressure? Why should there be stress? Why should you worry about your point? You've already put in the work. You just need to play loose, attack those 48 minutes, give it everything that you've got, one possession at a time. So don't put any pressure on yourself. Don't put the pressure on yourself, right? Eliminate all distractions so there's peace of mind when you get onto the court. And we've had conversations, right? Times where things are challenging, your mind's racing a little bit.
Yeah.
When we can quiet the mind, it allows you to attack at your highest level.
It's crazy how that works. The freer you are, the higher you can perform. If you've put in the work beforehand. That's
the key, though.
Yeah.
If you put in the work.
Because if
once the game starts, you can look across the man across from you, and if you know he hasn't prepared, you can see it in his eyes. You will have 35 points.
Yeah.
Because I will attack every possession. You're not going to stop me tonight. Because I can see in your eyes you have not worked the way that I work.
No doubt.
And that's a massive advantage that you can have as an athlete.
Man, especially at this level, because it's all about. At the NBA level, it's not about the skill. You know, everyone's skilled. There's more skilled players than others, but it's way more about who has the mental edge. And that only comes from the work you put in. Like, I remember my rookie year, people were like, yo, why is he shooting that shot? It's because I knew I shot that shot way more times than anyone else on the court was putting in the work, you know what I mean? So you just feel more confident in yourself. And that's the way to do it. You just came out with a book, bro. Oncoming Leadership. You talk about the way the best leaders lead. Talk about that, because you're obviously a leader of leaders, you know what I'm saying? You talk to a lot of people, help a lot of people. What are your tips for being a good leader? Do you think it needs to be vocal, by example? Like, what are your biggest things?
So I would say there's 5 common themes. So I wanted to honor 11 leaders that have impacted my life. Because the blessing in my work is, you know, you can say these things, you know, I've helped you. You inspire me, right? Your work every day, you fighting through challenge and adversity. When I see pain in your eyes, but you fight through it, that inspires me, right? So it's an iron sharpens iron. So I wanted to honor 11 people that have impacted my life, how I show up, and 11 amazing leaders that I've worked with. And there's 5 things that they had in common. Number 1, they do what I call the unrequired. They're willing to do that little bit extra like we talk about. Everybody knows what's required for you to win the day, to be your best. But the individuals who do that little bit extra, they're the one. A little bit extra every day. You keep stacking those days. Makes a profound difference. Number 2, they connect to the burn. They understand what drives them. So for me, when I wake up, I think about my mother every single day. Literally on my phone, my alarm on my phone says my mother's name, Jan Fishman Newman. I wear a bracelet that says legacy. I have a little journal. I write Jan Fishman Newman every morning, right? And that's what the highest performers do. They connect to that burn. They also live to the standard. They don't allow their feelings to dictate how they show up, right? So if I were to text you before a game, oh, you went for 35 last night, go do it again. We're living in the past of your feelings.
No doubt.
As opposed to, same thing, nothing changes, no undue pressure, eliminate distractions, one possession at a time. Just go cut it loose and be you.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a standard that you've created for you to have the right mindset when you step on the court?
Yeah, no, I want to pause you right there. Because Giannis, I think he is a professional at doing that. Nikola Jokic is another one. It doesn't matter if they play good, bad, whatever. They're not thinking about that once the game's over. They're their same self. If they have 50 points, they're not getting too high because then it's going to affect how they play the next game. I know a lot of athletes, they'll have a good game, but then they'll be really high for a second, but then they're kind of scared for the next game because, like, I got to outdo what I just did or match it. And then they end up, tripping or not having a good game. But like you said, when you can move on from that previous performance, or maybe, be happy, but then, like, once you go home, you sleep, wake up the next day, it's all over again. You know what I mean? You got to do it again. That, I feel like, is a big key for athletes to, like, be consistent in their performances, for sure,
They have to, and that goes to the fourth principle, which is to lock in. You got to lock in consistently. It's not occasionally. So you now understand you have to be happy for yourself, right? I mean, you had a great game, team wins a game, great team effort, great contribution. But the next day you got to lock in again. That's what the greatest champions do. You just said it. You got to go back to work the next day.
Right.
And then the last thing, it's a transfer of belief. They believe in themselves, and they believe in the individuals around them. Right? So there's a great belief you have in yourself. Right? Because for all of us, I always say, everything you need is already in you, meaning God gave it to you, but you got to choose to go and take it. Right? So that's a belief you have. I'm going to go take this every day. A lot of people don't choose to do that. But then you also have an opportunity through your example to lead other people on the team, to lead other people in your life, your brothers and sisters and your big, beautiful family, right? To be an example and go take yours too. Because you would do it for them. I know how much you love your family. You would do it for the whole family. But the reality is you got to take care of yours, but be a great example for them to do it for themselves.
Man, it's crazy you say that. Perseverance under trial. I mean, that was my mindset the entire time going through the injury. Like, I knew God isn't going to leave us in our challenges or our adversity. So I knew, if I stand firm and have faith, He's going to get me through it, and He's going to bless us more. God says, like, if we have faith in Him, He works everything out for our good. So I had no worries as far as that go. And I think one thing that people don't understand, and you know this too, adversity can be your best friend. Like, once you get through that adversity, you learn things, you grow as a person to now where when little things affect you, they don't even faze you. You know what I mean? Like, because of the bigger things I went through and I've gotten through, little stuff doesn't even shake me. And I don't know if I would have been the person I am right now if everything would have been smooth sailing. So I think when people see adversity, sometimes they run, they don't persevere. But I mean, God says, like, when you persevere, there's blessing in that. So I'm seeing that firsthand, and it's just crazy because God is good, man. He really is.
And the best is yet to come.
The best is yet. It's just it's early. I'm 23 years old. 23, yeah.
So many people are given talent, right? Comes from parents, things of that nature. Both of your parents athletes. It was fun to have the opportunity to work with your dad as part of that Mizzou staff that first year. But I know the real hooper in the house is your mom.
Yeah.
Your mom used to go for like 40 a game in high school, right?
Man.
So tell us about growing up, having parents that were athletes, a mom that used to be able to get down on the court too. And then what was it for you? Because you were given talent, right? So it was within you, but then you chose to take this amazing talent.
Yeah, so like you said, it was my mom who was a superstar in the family. My dad could hoop. My mom averaged like 50 in high school.
It was 50?
Like something astronomical. She went to Iowa, still holds some scoring records there, had like a 70-something point game. So she was playing overseas when she started having kids. They weren't even trying to have kids. Bree, Sierra, and then me. I don't think we were really supposed to. But then she kind of gave it up and was like, I'm going to be a homeschooled mom. So she helped us through everything. But I think, like, having parents, that kind of helped us along the way. But then, like I was saying earlier, man, like, it doesn't matter what it is. God has given all of us a unique talent. It's just up to us to find it. It was kind of obvious for me because I was 6'10", loved basketball. But for a lot of people, it's not that easy. But I think once you find kind of what God has blessed you in, you say it. I just saw it on your Instagram. You're supposed to pray like it depends on God, but then work as if it's up to you. So that's what I did. Like, I would pray, I'd realize that God blessed me a certain way, but then it's up to us to put in the work. You know what I mean? He doesn't do it for you. So that was my mindset.
So MPJ, once again, congratulations. I'm so proud of your work every single day, the consistency. And as we mentioned earlier, I know that the best is yet to come. They haven't seen anything yet.
Nothing.
because of your choice of how you work, your commitment to your teammates. I know you guys are going to get after it here in training camp. You know I'm going to be in your corner all season long.
Yes, sir.
And we're in your corner. All the guests that come on the show with the burn, we're here to help share different perspectives so that you can connect to your burn, to show up more consistently in your life, so that burn can ignite you, light that why and purpose on fire every day, and go take the necessary action. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, sir.